Let me move it over some there.
That's good. We live?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hey everyone. Eric and I are going to be discussing his Grocer
and Ryder stories. It's all right. It's all right, baby.
I can't talk for some reason.
It's okay, baby. Well, basically, I'm not going to say why I took a trip to the New Orleans area on June the 30th, 2014. That's in the past. It's bygone times. It's whatever you call it. But on June the 30th, 2014, took a trip to the New Orleans area, mostly to Metairie, maybe Kenner a little bit, and came back to Raceland where I was living at the time. And then I went to take a walk to the Family Dollar because the apartment I was living in is gone now, and the Family Dollar there is gone too. But I went walk to the Family Dollar for a few snacks and came back or whatever. And as I was walking, the ideas for writing a new story were going around in my head. But also the ideas kind of started in my head while I was in Metairie that day too. But it was basically to write a story of what became about a young autistic man who was employed at a very oppressive grocery company, who meets a supersized young lady who's in her late teens, and they fall in love. And it centers around the day by day activities of their lives and everything. And I can share excerpts from it. And, what you have to say about it, baby?
That I had liked it. At first I didn't realize that Eric at the time liked big ladies.
I wish you would have realized, but that happened for a reason why you didn't find out till I told you in person. Actually, fun fact, you had already read all of my Grocer and Ryder stories while we were in the talking phase, right?
Yeah.
And we were actually on a date or a get together or whatever. We were by that time we were in a relationship, and I think the date we had before that, I was hugging and kissing you goodnight, and my hands came across your love handles, and ooh, they felt so good in my hands. And I said, "You got sexy love handles,"
which upset me at the time.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
When I said I was trying to compliment you, and I still do think you got sexy love handles, baby.
I love you.
I love you too. But I felt bad for saying that at the end of that date. So at the next date, you took me out. What you doing, baby?
You can continue, baby.
Oh, I'm waiting for you to finish what you're doing.
I'm trying to get some stuff off of one of my bags.
Oh, do you need help?
No, I got it.
Okay. Just bear with us, folks.
I'm sorry.
I don't think anybody's watching. Okay. Now you got it. All
right.
right.
I was trying to put this onto this because you know how I am with now collecting.
Yeah, your wristbands. Can I show them collection of wristbands.
I got like Together We Create a Safe Community, Tez Monthly, Jesus Loves You,
I think
Smoke Alarm Saves Lives, and Cross Life Fellowship. And while we were at the Kenner Italian
Festival,
Heritage Festival.
Oh, that's my mistake.
Or Heritage or whatever. I had showed them, like, I had gotten two things which I'm going to show after the discussion of the stories. They had gave me about the putting on
the fruits of the Spirit is what that appears to be, the fruits of the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, Galatians 5:22 and 23. Chapter 5, 22 and 23.
Of which there is no law against.
Love, joy, gentleness, goodness, kindness, love, peace, patience, faithfulness, and self-control. That is going on to this.
With the rest of your stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Now I have, I'm trying to fill this little thing up as much as I can with these
wristbands. I think you call them wristbands, huh?
They're wristbands. I can't think of another word for them. Well, anyway, I'm trying to fill out my what is this
That's a carabiner clip.
carabiner clip with my stretchy, rubbery.
Don't stretch them too much; they'll pop, baby. What am I gonna do with you?
Love me, keep me forever, kiss me. Okay, go on.
Okay, so I was in. It was the afternoon and evening of June the 30th, 2014, is when the initial ideas to those stories came to my head, and for the remainder of the summer of 2014, throughout 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and then in 2020 when I wrote the final piece of them, that was a series of stories. I'd write in little installments, and when I had a blog, I had all or some of the installments on my blog. But it's about a 22 to 23-year-old autistic grocery stocker, and initially none of the characters had names, and it was all written from the perspective of either the young man or his girlfriend, who was a supersized teenage girl who was between the ages of 17 and 18. And before anyone jumps my case, they take place in Louisiana, and in Louisiana, the age of consent is 17. So, yes, they do take place in Louisiana. But her name is Samantha Abbott. So it was Garth Cooper and Samantha Abbott. And one of the scenes in those stories was inspired by the song Callin' Baton Rouge, which I guess is most popular by the singer Garth Brooks. And he's singing to a girl named Samantha, who is caught between a woman and a child. And his name is obviously Garth, so that's where I got the idea to name him that. But I had proposed to this lovely young lady, and she said yes on June the 30th, 2022, which is the 8-year anniversary of me beginning those stories. And yes, that was very deliberate, but the only reason why I chose June the 30th is because it was the anniversary of me beginning the Grocer and Writer stories. No other reason whatsoever. Let's just leave it at that. But I got my tablet with me, and I'm going to see if I can share some highlights from those stories. Yeah.
If you can pull them up.
I think I can. I got them as a text file on my tablet.
If y'all see me drinking something, it's either my Gold Peak sweet tea, which is this is my last case, my last.
That's bigger than the ones that come in the case, baby. That's a whole 59 ounces. I don't know.
Fluent ounces, or my grape Gatorade.
She got the grape. I got the berry. We shared strawberry.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so basically the stories were an attempt to portray life in postmodern or very near future American society. It wasn't officially stated in any of the stories, but they take place in the New Orleans, Louisiana area and the surrounding areas thereof. Garth has a house that he acquired very cheaply in Mid-City, and Samantha lives with her parents in Old Metairie, and her parents' marriage is very much on the rocks. In the prequel, I wrote the prequel in September 2018, and Garth's character is swamped with a lot of product that he's got to get on the shelf, and he's thinking of all the stories he wish he would be writing, because he is a writer. That's why it's called Grocer and Writer. And he's wishing he had someone to love him and everything. And at the same time, Samantha she's at home, hungry. She's glad tomorrow's Thanksgiving. And her mother is addicted to vodka and Xanax. And that's a point of friction between Samantha and her mother. But also, she's a high school dropout, and she dropped out because her mother used to drive her to school, but now that her mother's either always drunk or high on Xanax, she's got no ride to school. It was a private school and there was no bus service. And she knew she'd be tormented because of her size if she went to the public high school in her district. So she just straight up dropped out. But before that, she was an honor student and her favorite subject was English. So the next day is, of course, Thanksgiving. All of Garf's family live in Northeast Louisiana. Haven't decided exactly where yet, but I got a couple ideas of where in Northeast Louisiana. But so he's by himself on Thanksgiving. He doesn't have much money. He makes $8 an hour, and I would say this takes place between 2006 and I guess 2016, somewhere within that 10-year period. And he drives an older Toyota, which that was crazy because a former pastor of mine sold me his son's Toyota, which I had no idea I'd be getting. When I wrote the story, I wasn't even going to that church. I didn't even know that pastor when I created the idea that Garf's car his was a 1989 Toyota and mine's a 2006 Toyota. But it's almost like I spoke it into existence because Garth does have some of my attributes. And what's crazy is Holly has a lot of Samantha's attributes. And again, I created this story not even knowing Holly existed. The only piece that I created after knowing Holly existed was like the one right before the concluding piece. And I had no idea Holly was just like that girl at all. Like, but it's amazing. It's like I spoke this relationship into existence in so many ways. But, okay, so the pilot piece. Yeah, is it the pilot? No, the second piece in chronological order. Garf sitting in City Park of New Orleans, writing stories in a composition book, and Samantha walked from her parents' house in Old Metairie, wound up in City Park, and they see each other. Garf is sitting on the park bench writing in his composition book, and Samantha's attracted first, and she walks up and down, up and down, and up and down, and she tells him he's cute, and then she also asks, "Do you think I'm also cute, or do you think I'm too fat?" And he's like, "No, I think you're beautiful, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise." So she's like, Can I sit by you?" And he agrees, and she asks, "What is he writing?" And he says he's writing some stories. He's hoping to get established as a writer. And then she asks, "Can I borrow your pen?" And the way I have Garf narrating it is she writes a 10-digit number in his composition book. And he's like, "How old are you?" And Samantha's like, "It's impolite to ask a girl her age." And he goes, "I'll restate my question. How old are you?" And she's like, "Okay, I'm 17 if you must know." And he's like, "I'm 22 and I can get in a lot of trouble." He didn't even know the age of consent was 17 at the time. Because 17, it's the age of consent, but it's like also like a gray area, I'm told. And we also have a very similar age difference, but you were 28 and I was 32 going on 33 when we first discovered each other's existence. And then I was 35 and you were 30 going on 31 when we got together. So we even have a somewhat similar age difference as Garth and Samantha. And I think that's pretty cool. It's like I spoke the whole thing into existence by writing these stories. Okay, so after she's like, "Okay, fine, I won't make you do anything illegal," and they end up becoming in a relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend, and the mercury's starting to drop and the sun's starting to go down, and late November, even in Louisiana, can get quite chilly. So she's like, "Could you walk me home?" And he says, "I'll drive you home," instead. So he walks her to his old Toyota, and he drives her home to her parents' house in Old Metairie, and that concludes the second piece in chronological order. Then let me see what the third piece was. I wrote this, but I gotta look it up. Lost my folders. Right, here we go. Okay, the next day is Black Friday, and I wrote that in May of 2015 initially, they were not written in chronological order. They were just written in random and semi-random installments. Uh, it's after Garth gets off of work. He's sitting on his living room sofa, and the house he lives in. I'd imagine it's either a shotgun or a city cottage house in mid city, but it's based off of my grandma's city cottage in Metairie Heights or Metairie Terrace, whatever you want to call it. That was inspiration for Garth's house because I loved my grandma's house. That was like my favorite house ever. So a lot of the characters I write live in such a house. So the house that he stays in is based on a house in Metairie Heights, but I'll put it to where he lives in Mid City, and I have reasons for that, which we'll find out. So it's Black Friday, and she calls him, and he says, "I don't have many minutes on my phone because again, this takes place between 2006 and 2016." If I could put a date on it, and so they spend the whole night. He says he has unlimited texting, and they spend the whole
night or day
texting each other. And she confesses that she's a virgin, which he is too, but he doesn't say it right away. And now he's got a lot more reverence for her, and they just talk. Even though they're in a relationship, they get to know each other until her mother wakes up from a deep sleep and starts raising hell. And again, that was written in 2015. So the next piece I originally wrote in June of 2015, but basically it takes place a week from Black Friday of them getting together, and he takes her for a date on what would be the New Orleans River Walk, and he buys her a baby G, which in real life I bought you a baby G, and then you bought me this G-Shock, so that was pretty cool. I guess I spoke that into existence too.
You want to get my baby G? So
do you know where it is?
Yeah, it's in the bedroom.
Hold my tablet, please.
On the thing by the door.
Oh yeah, I see it. I wish you'd wear it more often, but I know it's uncomfortable sometimes. It's okay, baby.
I had signed sorry.
Yeah, I understand that sign language word.
This is the baby G.
That I got her, and I did that on purpose because of the Grocer and Ryder store. Did you get it when I told you that? When you saw it was a baby G, did you think of my Grocer and Ryder stories?
Not offhand.
It was a couple of weeks after you had moved in with me, and it was kind of like an early birthday present. And then a while later, she got me a G-Shock 2, which the baby G is the ladies' G-Shocks. Okay. So, and they also eat thin fried catfish at the Riverwalk, which the restaurant, there is no Spars in the Riverwalk. You okay?
Yeah.
There is no Spars seafood restaurant in the Riverwalk, but the thin fried catfish, I was trying to pay homage to Spars by having them eat that. So then
in the story, the cat Samantha's dad asks Garth about the
yeah.
I cannot think of the word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that scene's coming up actually. But the following Sunday, she texts him and asks if she can come spend the time at his house. So he fires up his old Toyota and goes from Mid City to Old Metairie, picks her up, and then takes her back to his house. And he's broke now because he spent all the money on paying his bills and the date with his girlfriend. But so they sitting on the sofa for a little bit, and he hears her stomach growling, and he asks if she's hungry, and she says yes, and then she confesses that her mother binge ate all the food in the house. So all he finds in his cabinet is a can of Always Save pork and beans, and so he warms them up, and then he brews coffee and chicory, and yes, that's paying homage to CDM or Cafe Du Monde.
Which I want to say is Outside Cafe or something like that.
Cafe of the World.
Okay.
I was trying to pay as much homage to New Orleans as I could by writing this because it was a trip to the New Orleans area that inspired all of it. So it was my way of giving thanks, I guess. But after that, they eat some rice pudding, and then he sets up he adjusts the antennas on his television, and they tune in a movie on. If I had to guess, the station would be WNOL NOLA 38, and they watch. There's Breaking Dawn parts 1 and 2 playing on a Sunday afternoon because that TV station. I don't know if they still do because I'm never by a television on a Sunday afternoon unless I'm at my parents' house. But WNOL would frequently play movies on Sunday afternoon, so paying homage to them. Then in July of 2014, I wrote this piece, and it takes place on the winter solstice of after they got together, and
Which is around Christmas.
right before, yeah, December 21st, 22nd, and they're in the break room, which I picture to be on a balcony outside the store, and there's the janitor. Initially, he was a Mexican or a Puerto Rican, but I rewrote it to be that the janitor was a Romanian to make it fit better with certain things. And then there was the deli cook in the store who, hate to admit, she's a bitter woman of color. I was wrong, partially wrong for doing that, but it's also stuff I've observed in real life too. That, well, anyways, Garth is texting Samantha, and the janitor notices them. The janitor's listening to a world band radio, and he's trying to tune in stations from Europe or Eastern Europe, and he's texting her. You know, when you're texting your boo or your bae, you got a smile all over your face and everything. So he knows that. So the janitor's like talking to your girlfriend, and he says, "Yeah." Says, "Is she pretty?" So he shows her the janitor a picture, and he's like, "Good Lord, she's beautiful." And so many words. It's like, "Did you smash that yet?" He didn't use those words, but there's no. She deserves my utmost reverence. And then the cook starts picking a fight, and she's like, "I bet she's a hoe, a nasty hoe." Which again, I was wrong for writing that, but some people in my past acted just like that, and that's who I am. In a way, I guess indicting. That was the motive, was to indict people like that were in my past, that were giving me grief. They were in my present at the time of writing it. They're now way in the past, not looking back. But let's see. So long story short, they get in a fuss and match, and she threatens him with either some versions it's a straight razor, but I figured that was too racist. So later versions it was just a box cutter, and they start recording her and everything. Well, later on, Samantha's dad, unbeknownst to Garth because he hadn't met her parents yet, is preparing. He's a business executive, and he's preparing to have a meeting, and Garth is stocking shelves, but he asks in this tone, he asks Garth, "Excuse me, young man, where might I find the remoulade sauce?" So Garth is a dutiful employee and shows him and everything, and says, "Can you help me get some fresh fish under that glass? He's basically having a fish fry for a meeting he's holding with other business executives." And so Garth gets on the PA system and calls someone to help for seafood, and he stays talking with the man, and the man compliments him and everything. And the assistant store director, who is based on a real assistant store director I had to deal with, but I'm not naming any names or places, starts chewing Garth out, and the executive says, "This isn't right, how you treating him," and everything. And so he cancels his order, and in fact he
Leaves his basket.
and he paid, I don't know if he had a balance or not, but he canceled his revolving credit account that was offered at the downtown grocer. And then so the assistant store director says, You're getting written up for this, and you will stock box gelatin from now on, which that's the hardest thing to stock in a grocery store. I'm not sure why the assistant store director had it in for Garth, but he did, and so anyways, shucks, it keeps going back to the top. Okay, let's see. So while that's going on, Samantha's in her room listening to music on, I guess, which is the cable music channels or whatever. And her mother wakes up from being under the influence of alcohol and Xanax and starts banging on her on the door to lower that music or she'll beat her. And so Samantha calls her dad, and he's saying how he's fixing to have a meeting and everything. And he tells her where her stash of Xanax goes. Tells Samantha to tell her mother where her stash of Xanax and Smirnoff Ice is. So she takes it. She crashes, and later on, Samantha eats some cling peaches in heavy syrup. And yes, that was a reference to All in the Family. And drinks some whole milk. And then later, while what Garth and Samantha were texting about in the break room was she wanted him to come see her when he got off of work, so he did, and he did come see her, and they're kissing, and underneath the glow of a street lamp, she asks to take him to his house, and so he does. He prepares some oatmeal for them, and then she tells what happened during her day. He tells what happens during his day, and the piece concludes with her saying she wants to move in with him when she turns 18, but she does stay the night. Then later on, it moves to Christmas Eve, which I originally wrote in August of 2014, and it starts with him leaving his job and going from which it's an unknown grocery store that is in I guess at least a 2 or 3 story building in the CBD. It's definitely not Rouse's. It's just a unknown grocery store, but it would be in downtown New Orleans. And so he goes pick her up, and they kiss under the glow of a street lamp for a little while. Then she says, "Let's go to your house," and he does. He takes her. So they sit on the sofa. He puts the late evening news on, and the journalist is saying how the world is World War III is about to break out, and the country's on high alert for a terrorist attack. And well, Samantha's worried about Garth being drafted off to war and him getting killed and them never knowing each other. So she proposes that they do it. They have relations, and at first he's hesitant, but then she convinces him. And he confesses that he too is a virgin. So it concludes with them deflowering each other in the bedroom. And then the next day is Christmas morning, and I wrote this in June of 2015. And she's browsing on her smartphone awkwardly, and Garth is preparing her breakfast. And what she's looking up on her smartphone is information about the age of consent in Louisiana, and she finds out that they didn't break the law, or he didn't break the law. She's legal in Louisiana to do that. And she's afraid that if he knows that, he won't stay committed to her. So, let's see. They eat breakfast, and then, let's see. Then she gets a text from her dad saying, "Where are you?" and everything, and she says she's with someone special, and he's like, "I want to meet him." So they get in the Toyota, even though it's freezing rain, and they drive from Mid-City to Old Metairie. And while in the car, she says, "I'm legal in this state. You didn't break the law." And says, "Thank God, that's a relief." She says, "But will you stay with me now? Will you still be mine?" She says, "There's not a force on this planet that could make me break up with you." And Samantha's like, "What if you got me pregnant?" And then Garth says, "Then I'd do the honorable thing and marry you. I wanted to marry you anyways. I just can't afford a ring." So with that, they drive back to Old Metairie. And they pull into the driveway, and her dad greets him. He's like, "Hey, young man, I know you." So it's revealed,
that
and he says how the downtown grocer, which is the name of the company he works for, doesn't treat their employees right. He says, "I know I that's why I closed my revolving account and everything." And he's like, "I'm on thin ice for that." Garf says, "I'm on thin ice because of that." And Samantha's dad says, "I could get you a better job, but I have to know that you're committed to Samantha." And Garf very seriously looks him in the eye and says, "Yes, I am." And he says, "Good, because I know people who can tar and feather you if you break her heart." And it concludes with them eating Chinese takeout. And the reason why they got Chinese takeout is because he didn't want to get takeout from the downtown grocer because of the way they treat their employees. Okay, so moving along. The pilot piece, and this is the piece that I wrote on June the 30th, 2014. It entails Garf clocking out of his job, feeling depressed because he had always dreamed that he'd done so much more with his life at 22, and how he wishes he could be a writer if he could only get his front foot in the door. And then he says there's someone special who enjoys his work, and then he drives to Old Metairie and picks Samantha up. He takes her to his house in Mid-City, and he reads to her. And after reading a few stories, they get turned on to each other, and they do it once again. And then she says, "Let me stay with you tonight." And he's like, "Honey, I'd let you stay here till the end of time." She says, "I will when I turn 18," and thus the piece concludes. Now the next one is on the evening of February 3rd, because Samantha's birthday is February 4th. And I did that to honor my grandmother who lived in Metairie. And her birthday is also February the 4th. So, and what was cool is I put Garf's birthday as February 13th, which was my grandpa and my grandma's husband's birthday. And I did that very much deliberately.
Oh, excuse me.
My piggy. Can I have a kiss?
I love you.
I love you too.
Y'all, I'm sorry for eating.
It's fine, baby. Is anybody watching at this point? Oh, wow.
Just
I'll keep it up. We'll get comments when people watch reruns of this or whatever.
Yeah. I was eating Robin's eggs mini, which are good.
Oh. So the next piece is February 3rd, and Samantha's preparing to move in with Garf because she turns 18 on February 4th. And since it's her birthday, he too he picks her up and he puts the television on, and again, the whole country's on high alert for a terrorist attack. And he orders Asian delivery, and the delivery man, there's not much about him, but it was about an Asian coworker that I was good friends with. The delivery man's based on him. So after eating the Asian food, Samantha says she's sleepy, let's go snuggle. And they go to bed. Well, then at midnight, there's a train coming through. And all of a sudden, there's a loud squealing sound followed by several loud explosions. And that wakes Garf up, and he hears the compressor motor on his refrigerator shut off. So he tries to turn on the bedside lamp. There's the electricity's out. What happened was some terrorists. At the time, I was thinking radical Islamic terrorists, and I'm still thinking that. And I hope that doesn't get us deplatformed. But purposely derailed a freight train. And the train line is a futuristic train line, because there was a thing going on a while back where the people of Old Metairie wanted the back belt line. Instead of going through Old Metairie, they wanted it to go through Mid-City. So in this, in my Grocer and Writer stories, it happens as if that actually took place. But Also, what's crazy is the power lines where Power Boulevard. You look cute, baby. Eat that and stop being silly, though. The power lines that cross, it's all right, baby. The tracks were transmission lines, and it's. I had in mind the transmission lines that run along Power Boulevard in Metairie or Kenner. And what happened was the terrorists had sabotaged the train tracks. The train derailed, and it knocked out those power lines right where it derailed, and several chemicals were released. Several things caught on fire. So the police are going door to door, knocking, telling everybody they got to get out of the
Neighborhood
yeah,
of
and
the facility.
yeah, and uh, Samantha's like, "Where we go? I don't want to go with my mom because my dad's at work and she'll give you hell." And Garth is like, "Well, our only choice is to go to the Delta of Northeast Louisiana with his parents." So that's what they do. He gets on Airline Highway, and in this version, contraflow was also being used on Airline Highway, and he takes Airline Highway all the way to Highway 71, which is between Port Barry and Krotz Springs, and then he takes 71 all the way to Alexandria, and then he gets on 165 and he takes it to his destination. But somewhere out in the sticks, uh, he stops at a diner, and he tells him what's going on, and he says, "Put the news on. You'll hear all about it." And the waitress at the diner says, "Can't. The cable's out." And so he tells him that well, he heard it on the radio, and we can guess that the station he was tuned to on his radio was WWO 870 AM. And he learns that this was a terrorist attack. So he tells the waitress, and so she's like, "What can I get for y'all?" And so she makes strawberry pancakes for Samantha, and she makes a sandwich for Garth. I didn't specify what kind of sandwich it was. It was what inspired the place was a place in Bunkie, Louisiana. I don't think it's there anymore. On Highway 71, called the Highway 71 Sandwich Shop. So it's paying homage to them. Uh, and then she gives him also some coffee, and she gives him a coffee mug with the diner's company logo on it, and says, "Come back and see us if y'all ever pass us through here again." So he drinks coffee, he eats his sandwich, Samantha eats her pancakes, and then she also puts how much, I guess it was $20 on whatever pump I can't remember if it was $20 or $40, but and she tells Garth, "You can pay me back on." What happened was ever since Samantha's mother went off the deep end with the booze and the Xanax, she didn't cook anymore. So what happened was Samantha's dad would set her up with a checking account and would put grocery money in that account so Samantha could feed herself. And so she's like, "We need gas more than groceries right now." So she puts gas in Garth's car, and they go the rest of the way. And they at some point they also Garth calls his parents' house phone, and his mama picks up and says, "There was a terrorist attack. We're headed your way." So he arrives in Northeast Louisiana early in the morning. Let's see. I wish it would quit scrolling back up. Now I gotta find my place. I lost my place again. Well, I went too far down now. Sorry for the delay, folks. It's taking forever, I know.
That's okay, baby.
I know what happens. I just have to. I'm reading the synopsis that I wrote of it. I'm reading pieces of the synopsis. Shucks, come on. Okay, so he arrives in Northeast Louisiana and he rings the doorbell, and his mother answers. And she says, "It's been a long time. I wish you'd call more often." And he says he only has so many voice minutes to use. Again, this took place between 2006 and 2016. So she says that Samantha's cute. And then his mom says, "Y'all must be tired from your trip. You can sleep in the living room, and your girlfriend can have your bed." And of course, that upsets them. And he's like, "Mama, that's not necessary. We're both adults." And she asked Samantha, "How old are you?" And of course, she said, "I'm 18 at midnight. I was going to move in with him, but then the terrorist attack with him." And then, of course, that sets his mother off into a tizzy and all of that. And he's like, "I'd marry her if I could just afford a decent ring, but he might be able to afford one soon if he can get his foot in the door as a writer." And then his mother, who's like old school, like, I guess we can describe his mother as one of these holiness
Holier
types.
than thou.
That too, but the holiness type of people that live in the Bible Belt, she's definitely one of them. Like Sheldon Cooper's mother, but on steroids. Fun fact: I never watched Big Bang Theory till after I wrote all of this, but I saw how Garth is somewhat like Sheldon, just not as extreme, and Garth's mother is like Sheldon's mother. It's like
Mrs. Cooper.
yeah, I forget what her name is, but
I can look it up.
Well, no, that's all right, baby. It was crazy. It's like this is elements of my Grocer and Writer stories, and honest to God, I never watched Big Bang Theory until after the fact. But anyways, so his mother says you're supposed to toil for your wages and not get paid to entertain people with your sinful fantasies. And Samantha interjects and said his stories aren't sinful; they're beautiful, and that's the reason why, but not the only reason that she fell in love with him. And then his mother gets really upset and says how she's disappointed that he's using the written word to charm Samantha into his pants. And that's a fall far from grace, and she blames it on him moving into the city and basically getting corrupted. So his dad wakes up and walks into the kitchen and asks what's going on, and they give him the runaround. And his mother tells him everything, and he's like, "Honey, don't be so hard on him. I didn't think he'd ever find anyone because of his condition." And then Samantha's like, "What condition?" He's all right. Like, she's upset. I guess she's thinking at this point he must be terminally ill or something. And that's just, no, he's high functioning autistic. And Samantha basically said that doesn't matter to her, especially as big as she is, and that he still loves her. And Garth remarks it feels good holding her at night. And his mother gets even more angry. And of all Miss Holiness over there goes to her liquor cabinet and pours a shot of whiskey. And Garth says, "Isn't it a sin to drink?" And she says, "You're making me sin with all your choices." So the dad says, "Why don't we all go to bed?" So she takes another shot of whiskey and they all go to sleep. Okay, so the next day they wake up in each other's arms, shivering. He steps out of bed, and there was I forgot to mention this, and this is actually a crucial point. One of the things he took when he evacuated was a flashlight that came with the house he bought, and it was the First Alert Ready light, and that's a rechargeable flashlight they made back in the 1980s, and it came with his house, and it still worked. And I think it actually turned on when the power went out. So he took it. He took his flash drives, he took his composition books, and then Samantha took like her purse, and they just left. But he went to check. He got up, freezing. He grabbed his First Alert Ready light and went to check the thermostat in the house. And he turns it on, and the bulb blew out right then and there. So they get up, and his mom's cooking pancakes and bacon on the table, and they eat. And then Garth says, "I think the furnace is broken." And his mother says, "No, it just needs more oil. Why don't you go make yourself useful and go to the hardware store and get us some?" And it's 7:56 in the morning, And he asked, "Is it still open at 8?" And she's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Then we're going right now." And he says he needs to get a new bulb for his first alert ready light. And what it was, my grandma had a first alert ready light plugged in her kitchen wall between the refrigerator and the stove. So I was paying homage to my grandma. And plus, like Garth Cooper, I am also autistic, and I am very hyperfixated with flashlights. I've been that way ever since infancy. So they go to the so they leave. They go to the hardware store, and they walk, and there's a long line to check out. So they're browsing around, and Samantha's phone rings, and it's her dad calling, and he's checking up on her, make sure he's all right, make sure she's all right, and he says how he can't stand his wife as of lately because of the alcohol and the Xanax. And he says, "I'm glad you're not with her. I'm glad you're with Garth, where you'll be safe." So then the phone call concludes. And unfortunately, everybody heard that phone call. And it's in a very small town with a lot of judgmental people, but I'll get more on that in a second. So there's a long line, so they continue to look around. And he sees some new old stock bulbs for his first alert ready light, so he buys all the packs that he can, but he's only got cash on him. And he recognizes a salesman in that hardware store that was a football player that he went to high school with, who had a career-ending injury while in college, and now is just a tool salesman or a hardware salesman. And I think his dad owns the hardware store too, if I wrote that. But he says,
if you remember correctly.
If I remember correctly, yeah. He says, instead of buying those bulbs for your flashlight, could I interest you in one of these, which this is an LED mini mag light. And actually, this lovely young lady bought this for me. So that was
my plasma money, I think.
Yeah, you sure did.
I would not recommend doing it because you're on the bed laying like this, with your arms stretched out like this, doing like this or like this.
Sometimes for up to 2 hours, maybe more. Yeah.
It hurts.
I'm sorry, baby.
With your arms stretched out like this, like okay. And when the machine gets done,
it returns the blood to you or whatever?
Yeah, it's returning the blood to you. But when the machine, the liquid starts turning like a pink, you're still laying there, the machine will be like has a blue light on.
Okay, I didn't know all of this. I'm learning something.
And you'll be laying there waiting for somebody to come by.
And unhook the needle and everything.
Yeah, and start undoing everything. Unhooking you from the machine. So you can, and then you have to have a gauze, like what they use for the shots to give you.
A bandage? With gauze, though, right?
Gauze, and the thing that wraps around your arm.
Wow. Oh, like a tourniquet almost.
Yes.
Okay.
It hurts.
Trust
me.
I'm sorry, baby. I didn't realize.
I've been doing it since Mother's Day of 20 something. I don't remember.
I'm sorry, baby. I didn't realize it entailed all of that.
It's okay.
But the salesman says, can I interest you in one of these instead of those bulbs? And it's like, I don't have money for both. And he's like, charge it to your parents' account. And it's like, they'd be livid if I did that. So Samantha comes and says, I'll buy that. You get your bulbs. I'll get this for you. And so I spoke it into existence that you got me such a flashlight. And I keep this in a very special spot in my backpack because it means a great deal to me for so many reasons. On top of the fact that this lovely young lady bought it for me. But so she says, I still have grocery money in my checking account that my dad gave me. So he buys the oil, charges it to his parents' account with the remaining cash on him. He buys the first alert ready light bulbs. And then Samantha buys
the flashlight,
Garth, that little mini Maglite LED. And then they head out. Well, before they head out, Garth is like, I know I got to pay you back for that. And she's like, yeah, just pay me back all night long when we get back home. Well, all these judgmental, nosy, small town folks.
Holier than thou.
heard that whole conversation. So he's making his way to his Toyota. The moment he gets in the Toyota and starts it,
His phone rings.
his phone rings. Yeah, it's his mother calling, and he's like, "You want to tell me why you and your girlfriend were acting so lewd in the store?" And so at first he plays dumb. He's like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "We all know what it means by you paying Samantha back all night long for that flashlight. It's disgusting." And he's like, "Why can't people mind their own business? Who tattled on me?" It's like, "I'm not," and his mother's like, "I'm not going to tell you because you're going to go confront them and embarrass me more." And she's like, "Just come home with the oil. It's freezing in here." Who does
Your mom?
Yeah, to some degree, except my mom is a lapsed Catholic. She would never be one of those holiness types or I could never picture her as one of those. But
Go back to the beginning of the
I know.
story.
So they get back home. They go into Garth's bedroom, and he unpacks the flashlight with his pocket knife, and he puts the batteries in, and he sees how bright it is, and he kisses Samantha, and he's thankful that she gave it to him. And he's like, "I will pay you back all night long with entrance compounded, I think about a minute or something." He says something like that. I forget exactly what I had him say. And his mother's listening in, and she comes down real hard on him, and she's like, "How long has this been going on?" And he's like, "We don't have to tell you." And then she's like, "We'll find another place to stay till the evacuation order's lifted." And so Samantha says, "Ever since Christmas Eve of last year." And she says, "Well, now y'all gonna live like a married couple. Y'all gonna work like a married couple too." So she says, "Go help your daddy in the fields." And she teaches Samantha to cook. She has Samantha help cook and clean. And Samantha's like, she's got physical limitations because of her size and everything. So and then he goes back to the barn and finds it in a disarray and everything. And his dad says, "Yeah, people are going to be talking about me and Samantha around town." And his dad's like, "I don't care how much more of them you may have fornicated, but how many more of them committed adultery? It's none of their business," type of thing. And he's like, "Well, Mom wants me to work for as long as I'm here now." And he's like, "Okay, help me change the oil and the hydraulic fluids in my tractor, and then organize the barn." And he went on to say how the barn that Garth used to keep the barn in really good order because his autism also made him OCD about how the barn was arranged and everything. And he would keep it like so stocked, like down to the chemical formulas of the fertilizers that they use, because his parents are soybean farmers. So he gets the hydraulics and the oil in the tractor change, and his dad starts the tractor and goes, "Purrs like a kitten, she does." And Brad or Brock means, if y'all hear that, y'all inspired that statement when y'all were in high school with me, and y'all parents gave y'all a truck to get around in, and it was either Brad or Brock said, "Purrs like a kitten, she does." So I had to borrow that to pay homage to y'all if y'all ever watch it. If y'all ever watch this video, that was all for y'all.
Yeah, purrs like a kitten, she does.
Yeah. So then he organizes all the tools and the fertilizers and the seeds and everything.
When he was a little kid.
Just like when he was little, yeah. And he asked his dad, "Why my autism never bothered you?" And his dad basically said he felt guilty because they had tried to have children for years, and he was up in age when Garth was born, and he read that men that are up in age that father children, the children will be autistic, and that he was almost 50 and his wife was in her late 30s when they had him, and so he's much more cooler about it. So after he organizes the barn, he puts he also takes the gasoline and the diesel cans and consolidates them near the vent of the barn. He's smart. He knows to put that near the vent so they don't build up fumes. And he sharpens the cutting blades with a file. And then he tightens all the screws on the breaker panels and the light switches and any other where there's a loose screw. And Garth's mother is teaching Samantha how to make seared chicken breast, scalloped potatoes, and steamed green beans. And in the middle of dinner, they get a text message saying the evacuation order is lifted. And minutes later, Garth's phone rings, and it's his boss. And okay, your time off is over now. The evacuation order is lifted. Get back to work, PDQ. And he says, I'm out of town. I have no place to go. I had no place to go when the train was derailed. He says, then you have 24 hours to end this phone call or you will be terminated. And so he just humbly replies, yes, sir. And her mother says, again, his mother is stuck in a totally different time. And she says, don't people know not to call at dinner time? She should have said supper time probably, but anyways. And he says, that was my job calling. I have to be back there in 24 hours, and it's a 12-hour drive ahead of me. And, no, a 5-hour drive. I hope my glasses are all right. It's a 5-hour drive ahead of him. And his mother says, translation, you want to go back home and screw your girlfriend. And his dad is like, honey, for the last time, don't be so hard on him. He's lucky to have her. And Samantha says, and I'm just as lucky to have him. And then his mother says, fine, do whatever you want. They finish eating, and they pack, and they leave. And his dad says, she'll eventually come around, especially if y'all get married, which I think y'all need to strongly consider. So there's an interlude, but then there's May. And it's a severe thunderstorms are going on all day. And they're woken up to the flash of lightning. And Garth looks at his G-Shock, and he realizes, because he wears a G-Shock too, he realizes that he needs to get ready for work. So he goes shower, where Samantha brews some coffee and chicory and bakes them some biscuits and spoons some fig preserves on them.
I can make biscuits. All I need is milk and Bisquick.
Hey, did I not say the Lord told me that the wife he had for me would be capable of making biscuits? I guess that's the proof, huh, baby?
Yeah.
Oh, shucks, I lost my place again.
I don't measure anything.
I like your biscuits, though, baby. I rarely measure either. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Lost my place. So they eat breakfast. Their eyes are fixated lovingly on each other. And it's time for him to go to work. So he places the phone in his left pocket and the flashlight Samantha gave him in his right pocket. And they share a strong embrace and then share several kisses with a lot of passion. And in a puppy dog voice, Samantha says, please be safe in this weather, baby. And he looks at her starry eyes and says, just pray for me. And Samantha's like, you know I will. I always want you to come back to me. And not only that, I want you alive and kicking. Which that's not the first time she told him that either. And then so they exchange those 3 little words both. And then Samantha engages several of the extra locks Garth puts on his door, because after she moved in, he put several more locks and he beefed up the security of his house, because at the time Mid-City was not a nice place, and I had some racial tension issues with the people I was associated with back in those days, even though I wrote this piece in 2020, but it's connected to other pieces. And he was basically him and Samantha were the only white people in Mid-City at the time this was thought of. Okay, so he parks into the parking garage at the downtown Grocer, and he scans his badge, and he clocks in, and he begins stocking canned goods and boxed gelatin, because the assistant store director has it in for him. The storm gets worse and worse. Suddenly, there's a loud thunder, and the power is out, and it's dark inside the store. So he uses the flashlight Samantha gave him, and he has to escort customers and both customers and coworkers are impressed by the brightness of that flashlight. And now he's gonna have to work even more hours, which means less time with Samantha. And then he feels his phone buzz for a split second, and it's a text from her saying, "Are you okay? There's a really bad storm near you." So he walks to the bathroom and says, "Yes, baby, I'm okay. Just pray for me and know that I love you." And seconds later, he gets a reply saying, "I will, and I love you too." And then he goes back to escorting customers. And finally, the power comes back on, and his phone vibrates again. So he goes to the bathroom and checks it. And it's his girlfriend saying, "Baby, I have some very good news, and I can't wait to tell you." And sometime later, the cook says, "I need your flashlight to fix the oven." And he asks her, "Aren't there some flashlights in the deli?" And she's like, "They're all dead." And he says, "You cannot use not mine." And she's like, "Why not, little boy?" And he's like, "Because my girlfriend bought it for me, and it has sentimental value, and I don't trust you with it." So she calls him a dirty, selfish retard. Uh, and she says if he doesn't let her use that flashlight, she's going to call the police and tell them that he's in a relationship with an underage girl. And Garf says, "You wouldn't have a case. She's 18." And then the cook calls her a hoe, which she called her that. And Garf says, "What have I told you about calling her that? Can you prove it? Because if you can't, we can sue you." And she says, "I ain't playing anymore. Give me your flashlight." And Garf says, "Maybe you should buy your own instead of spending all your money on drugs." And the assistant store director hears them arguing, and the cook says he won't let her use the flashlight. And Garf says it's his personal property and his girlfriend gave it to him. So long story short, they both getting written up. And then the cook looks at Garf with an evil grin and says, "One more write up and you will be terminated." And then he looks at the cooks and says, "I cannot make him volunteer his personal property. Just go to the houseware section and charge one of those cheap Ever-Ready flashlights to the deli's store account." They walk away. He works the hour of 1 p.m. So he gets a cup of rice pudding and a pint bottle of milk from his igloo cooler. And he texts Samantha saying, "So what is the good news? I could sure use it. Could sure use good news." And she says, "Wait until I see you in person. It's really good news, but I want to see the look on your face." And he says, "Okay, fair enough." And then he goes on to tell her about what happened, and they're texting each other. And she says, "I'm so sorry you have to go through all of that, but all I can say is just hang on a little bit longer. Things are about to turn in your favor." And he's like, "You're not mad that I got written up again?" And she's like, "Not at all. If I had my way, you would never work for those terrible people ever again." He says, "Thank you, baby. I love you with all my heart." And she says, "And I love you the same." So he finishes eating, and then goes back to work. Then he buys a can of Dentimore beef stew, and he works to the hour of 9. Clocks out, goes home, drives to the wet streets, finally pulling up to the curb. And he parks his Toyota, and then he comes in, and she lets him in. And she says, "And now for the good news. What is it, baby?" And she says, "My dad called me today from work, and several of his fellow executives are highly interested in having you become a published writer. They all love your stories, and they think you could maybe even get a movie deal. They just have to iron out a few things, but my dad said your days at the downtown grocer are numbered, and much better days are coming for us."
So wrap it up saying.
Well, wait, hold on.
No, I'm just saying that he's going to have better days.
Yeah. So she's like, "What would you like to do now?" He says, "Honestly, I'm tired. Today was long and stressful, but if you will have me, I will hold you all night long. And then tomorrow, since I'm off, we can go do something." And she says, "Yay, now let's go cuddle." And he's like, "Right behind you, baby." So that concludes the second to last piece. Then the tragic conclusion, which actually takes place on June 30th. He says he's no longer a grocer. He's now a writer, and he's gotten most of his work published. He quit the job at the downtown grocer, and he fixed up his house, bought a new vehicle, and bought an engagement ring for Samantha. And he's on his way to her parents' house to pick her up. and he pulls into the driveway. And Samantha greets him with a loving kiss, and he says, "Baby, let's go to the park. I have a surprise for you." And then her dad looks at him with a wink and a thumbs up because
he knows what the surprise is.
he knows he had. I never wrote that piece where he asked their parents' permission. I never got around to writing that piece, which is weird in a sense because I never had a chance to ask your parents' permission to marry me either. So maybe I was supposed
marry me either.
I mean, marry you. I'm sorry. Well, ask your parents' permission for you to marry me. I said it right. Oh.
I'm sorry if y'all saw me like doing something. I was just putting some lotion on my legs and my feet.
It smells good, by the way.
It's called Mint Bliss Energizing Lotion for Feet and Legs by Mary Kay, which is good. It smells good. I got it for Christmas from my mama. I love it.
And your mother's not an alcohol or a pill addict by any means. I was not trying to, I didn't even know your mother, much less you, existed when I wrote that piece. So I just wanted to clear the air about that. And so anyways, they're driving to the park, and Samantha's like, I hope all this money and success won't corrupt you. And
he says it won't.
No, he says, well, to make sure, I'll need you by my side forever to keep me in check. And Samantha's like, a lot of girls and women are going to want you. And Garth is like, well, I don't want them. I just want you. You wanted me even at my lowest, so now you'll have me at my highest. You're the only one who put up with my condition, and no amount of money or success will ever make it go away. And Samantha says, and you're the only one who loved me despite my weight, which is basically impossible to lose. And Garth is like, well, I love to put my arms around you at night and hold on to you. I think your weight makes you so sexy. However, I want you to have the body you want, and know that I'm in love with your soul, and I'll want you no matter how thin or heavy you become. And Samantha says, I love you so much. And Garth says, I love you too, baby. You know why I'm laughing.
Because we said those three little words.
Yeah, but we talk to each other like that, and your papa teases us. So they continue riding to the park, holding hands. And then he arrives. Garth helps Samantha out of her truck, and they begin to walk the walking path. And he says, let's go sit on the bench where we first met. So they sit down together, and they kind of snuggle on the bench. And then he pulls a ring out of his pocket and says, this is for you. And she's like, what is this? It's an engagement ring. Marry me, baby. I've been wanting to give you one of these for a long time, but I could never afford one until now. Please be my one and only, both now and forever. And of course, Samantha begins to wildly kiss, and her eyes are swelling with tears, and she says, of course I'll marry you. I'm so fat I cannot even drive, but you still want me. You treated me better than in my wildest dreams, and you've shown me love and affection when every other guy I was interested in was so cruel to me. And he says, you just made me the happiest man on the planet. Now, in an unfortunate twisting of events, the deli cook shows up in the park with all her illegitimate children, and Garth gets the idea to flaunt. So he stands up on the bench and says, I just proposed to the girls of my dreams, and she said yes. And everyone else in the park starts clapping and cheering. The cook begins to shout that he's retarded and she's fat, and she assumes he quit his job and is on disability, so now they're going to have a bunch of fat, retarded children, and everyone's going to have to pay taxes to support them. And that was a wrong assumption. And he looks at the cook and says, actually, I just got a job as a romantic novelist. That probably means nothing to you, though, because I doubt you like to read. And she calls him a racial slur, which I'm not going to say. And he says, I don't have to shut up. And furthermore, if you don't leave us alone and go back to feeding all your illegitimate children, I'm going to call the police. So the cook pulls a revolver from her purse. She points it at Garth and fires. He's hit. He collapses to the ground. Then several people wrestle the revolver from the cook. And Samantha sees him on the ground and is crying profusely. And then she basically has a massive heart attack, and they both die. And that's how Grocer and Ryder concludes.
Can you get my jewelry box, please? If you can get to it.
Yeah, which one do you... The whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, baby. That's my Grocer and Ryder stories, and depending on who you are and what narrative you believe, you either love it or you hate it.
My friend Brittany gave me this for my birthday.
My back hurts.
And I have lots of my necklaces in here. But let me show you the ring, if I have it, that Eric proposed to me with. If it's in here. That's not it. The ring you proposed to me with is missing.
Oh, all right. I'm sure it'll turn up. Is
But
that Pokeball ring?
Yeah, the Pokeball ring. Well,
Which I didn't even pay for it. You just handed me the ring.
Yeah, I said we didn't have a ring at the time. I said, here, just use this my ring.
Yeah.
My own personal ring that I bought for myself, which was a size too big for me.
You were like, we need to get engaged because of what happened.
Yeah, I'm not going to say.
No, we don't need to talk about why. We weren't. It wasn't anything wrong we did. It was
right.
Her housing situation changed, so I took her in. But she was already my girlfriend at the time, and she's like, well, we need to get engaged. I'm like, yeah, I agree.
And we got married on my mama's birthday, October 28th.
Yep.
Of 2022.
And we've been married ever since.
Yeah,
It'll be 4 years in October.
Yeah, for almost 4 years now. We have bought my papa this at the Italian festival.
Yeah.
Having an Italian good time because he has Italian in him. And I had got, this is supposed to be a makeup bag, but I'm using it for my pens. It says, I will fear no evil for you or with me. Psalms 23 verse 4, which is nice. And today, Eric had got me a pen. Let me see if I can find the pen.
It's a blue gel pen, huh?
Yes. Here's the pen. Baby, I didn't need that black pen because...
All right, cool. I thought it looked familiar.
Can you get my purple bag?
Yeah.
We were at a church function today. I got Eric a shirt and a pair of pants that I thought would fit him, but
they didn't. They were too long and too wide.
My mistake.
No, it's okay, baby.
My bad.
It's all right.
And I also got this purple, like, little bag that I'm going to use probably one day to put, like, my stuff in.
And the racial slur that the cook called Garf is basically the word that means unleavened bread.
Yeah.
Of this kind of one of the varieties is
starts with a C.
Yeah, Ritz or Nabisco or Cheez-Its.
Can you give me something so I can eat?
Yeah, baby. You want to wrap up the video?
Yeah. Well, we
gonna make some hamburger helper spaghetti, but I'm gonna doctor it up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna call my papa on Messenger and show him
the koozie. I think you call that a koozie, huh?
Yeah, the koozie of the Italian flag heart thing.
And my Grocer and Writer stories, there was some racial tension going on in that story, but there was a lot of racial tension in America at the time, and there was the people I was associated with. I don't want to talk about it, but let's just say I was in writing that, I was observing all the racial tension going on in that country that was happening, and it is what it is. So you're my piggy.
Yes, baby.
I love you.
So bye. We love you, and hope you have a good night. Bye.